On December 23, 1988, the tug Ocean Service struck the tank barge Nestucca off the coast of Washington State, resulting in an 875-ton oil spill that polluted the west coast of Canada's Vancouver Island. 3 months later, on March 23, 1989, the tanker Exxon Valdez grounded on Bligh Reef in Prince William Sound, Alaska, releasing 44,000 tons of oil. Public outrage followed.
Continue to move oil by tankers, knowing that sooner or later there'll be another one. That's what everybody said when they first began this thing, and they've been proved right.
Who pays? Who pays for all of this? The fishermen who lose their crop, you know, the animal, the cost all the way down the line. Who pays?
So that in the hopes that the governments, who never seem to lead but follow, will do something positive about this. We're all horrified, but as you say, nothing ever happens. So thanks for airing this problem again.
Just over a month later, on June 9, 1989, the Prime Minister of Canada appointed the Public Review Panel on Tanker Safety and Marine Spills Response Capability with a mandate to review and evaluate the following 3 issues. Measures currently in place to ensure the safe movement of oil and chemicals by tanker and tank barge through Canadian waters. Canada's ability to respond to marine spills of these products. And Canadian and international legislation and conventions regulating the movement of oil and chemicals, including provisions for compensation for damages resulting from spills. This is our final report. Our mandate addresses 2 main issues. Response: if we have spills, can we clean them up? And prevention: are tankers safe? Can we clean up oil spills? As of the writing of this report, 15 months after the Exxon Valdez spill, Exxon has spent $2 billion to clean up Prince William Sound. And although they promised 100% success, less than 10% of the oil has been recovered. With current technologies, we cannot clean up catastrophic oil spills, no matter how fast we respond and no matter what we do. Therefore, the panel has concluded that our hope lies in prevention. We must prevent spills in the first place. Are tankers safe? There are 4 issues relating to safe tankers: competent crews, safe navigation, ship inspections, and ship design. The Tavistock Institute, in a study done for the UK Marine Directorate, found that human error is responsible for 96% of collisions and groundings of oil tankers. The International Maritime Organization and Canadian Coast Guard support this finding with similar estimates. To reduce the incidence of human error, in our report we recommend upgrading training and certification standards and more rigid enforcement of Canadian and international safe manning regulations by the Canadian Coast Guard. While Canadian waters are among the most treacherous in the world, we do have an extensive infrastructure and range of services to support safe navigation. There is room for improvement, however, and we make specific recommendations to upgrade hydrographic charts, navigation aids, and vessel traffic systems. Under a Memorandum of Understanding on Port State Control, Canada and European nations are attempting to inspect all tankers annually to evaluate their seaworthiness. To this end, Canada is committed to inspecting 25% of all foreign tankers visiting our ports. In 1988, the Canadian Coast Guard inspected just 8%, and 1/4 of these were found to be defective. This underscores the need for inspections, and we make specific recommendations that will allow the Coast Guard to live up to our international commitment on ship inspections. Tankers are not safe, and they are not designed to be safe. Of the 6,500 oil tankers worldwide, only 8%, 500, have double bottoms or double hulls. The rest, 6,000 of them, are as Terry Pittman describes: single hulls with very little steel between the oil cargo and the water being traversed. In Canada, only 1 of 31 tankers is double-hulled. As it is, if a collision or grounding occurs, a spill is almost a certainty. The bottom, sides, and main deck of a ship are called the hull. Ships can be constructed with double bottoms or double hulls. In the Baltic Sea, where navigating conditions are similar to those in Canadian waters, many of the tankers have had double hulls since the 1970s. With a double hull, the outer bottom or side might be penetrated, while the inner structure likely remains intact. In fact, this has been proven. In the Baltic, based on studies of 20 accidents over a 25-year period, only 10% of the accidents involving tankers with double hulls in which the shell plating was fractured resulted in spills. The same studies show that had they been single-hulled, 80% of the accidents would have resulted in spills. Naval architects and engineers studying the Exxon Valdez spill estimated that 75% less oil would have been spilled had the ship been double-hulled. There is universal agreement that double-hulled tankers are safer. So why do they make up only 8% of the world's fleet? Double-hulled tankers cost more to build, and the payload is reduced because there is less room for the oil cargo. Each voyage is less profitable. This profitability has an environmental price tag. Catastrophic oil spills from single-hull tankers throughout the world have been of unimaginable proportions. Small wonder there is now a worldwide demand for safer tankers. Our report presents 107 recommendations, 51 of which are region-specific. However, we make one major recommendation. Human error accounts for almost all accidents, and many of our other recommendations are aimed at reducing the incidence of human error. But it would be whimsical to suggest that we can eliminate it completely. What we can do, however, with this recommendation is mitigate the effects of accidents if and when they do occur. This panel is convinced that if we are to protect Canadian waters, we must have only double-hulled tankers plying them. To achieve this, we recommend a levy of $2 per ton of oil cargo be charged to all carriers using single-hull tankers anywhere in our waters. For double-bottom tankers, the levy should be 50%, and for double-hulled tankers, the levy should be set at 0. To impose this levy, no new legislation is required. Canada already has the Ship Source Oil Pollution Fund, known as the SOPF. Although it has in the past, the fund is not currently charging a levy, but the Minister of Transport has the authority to impose one at any time. We recommend he do so immediately. In addition to being an incentive for carriers to use safe ships, a portion of the approximately $1 billion raised by the levy over the next 10 years should be used to prevent spills by financing 1/5 the cost of expediting the replacement of the entire Canadian flag fleet of tankers and tank barges with double-hulled vessels. We recommend that the fleet be replaced within 7 years, and our preference is that the new ships be built in Canadian shipyards. This panel was struck in response to a major spill from the Nestucca and a catastrophic spill from the Valdez. This major recommendation directly addresses spills caused by such accidents. However, during 31 days of public hearings and from the extensive research we conducted, we learned that not all oil and chemical pollution comes from ship groundings and collisions. In fact, 2/3 of the 1.5 million tons of oil entering the marine environment annually comes from small or moderate operational spills during loading and unloading and from illegal discharges. Almost all of these can be prevented, and we make several specific recommendations, primarily to the Canadian Coast Guard, that, when implemented, will improve dockside operations through greater oversight and deter intentional polluters through enhanced surveillance and prosecution. Only research can improve cleanup capabilities for the largest spills, but most moderate or small spills can be effectively cleaned up with existing technology. However, Canada is not at present capable of adequately responding even to these spills. What is required is the right equipment deployed in the right places, along with clear accountability, organization, and well-rehearsed contingency plans. We make several recommendations, including a national joint industry government spill response framework and model and funding from the SOPF in the order of $200 million for sufficient equipment to respond as effectively as possible to spills wherever they occur in Canada. There is a glaring need for extensive research into the long-term effects of oil and especially chemical pollution in the marine environment and into technologies to more effectively respond to spills. We make detailed recommendations for a structured, collaborative R&D initiative to be undertaken by industry, government, and universities, and funded in part by the SOPF in the order of $20 million annually. Legislative framework. This was an important part of the panel's mandate, and we proposed several ways to overhaul and streamline existing regulations and regimes governing marine spills. In order to ensure compliance, we recommend significantly higher fines for polluters, more generous and timely compensation for victims of spills, and more vigorous enforcements and prosecutions. The objective is to oblige companies to act in environmentally responsible ways by making the cost of polluting prohibitive and the likelihood of getting caught significantly higher. Canada is a vast country, and the navigation and other challenges faced by mariners vary significantly from region to region. Accordingly, the panel makes 51 important region-specific recommendations relating to equipment, technologies, navigation aids, radars, surveillance, and others. Most of these are to be implemented by the Canadian Coast Guard and Environment Canada. Too often, reports of commissions of inquiry amount to a wish list because implementation requires the enactment of legislation or the recommendations cannot be funded. That is not the case with the major recommendations of this report. No new legislation is required, and the funding through the SOPF levy starts as soon as the Minister of Transport says it does. It is worth noting that similar spill prevention and response initiatives are under active consideration in many countries, including bills before both the Senate and the House in the U.S. Congress. It is the panel's firm belief that when Canada acts on these recommendations, others will soon follow, and we will all be well on our way to preserving our planet's marine environment.